What's happening, guys? I wanted to talk to you about 1911s. On my Instagram story, on Mondays and Fridays, I'll do an Ask Me Anything. And I'll answer as honestly as I can any question that's put forth regarding training, anything, police work, anything I've been involved in, anything I'm known for. I'm more than happy to talk about that stuff. I love to discuss that stuff and read about it and dive deep. So it's an opportunity to have conversations with people and learn a little more about them, about myself, and maybe sometimes it forces me to increase my knowledge on the subject because maybe there's something I'm just rusty on or don't even know. You know, new things come up all the time. Discoveries are made, things that were old become new again, and so it's always cool to have those conversations. One of the things that came up was, hey, what was your favorite 1911? How was it set up? Now, that's a cool question, and I thought I would do a little video about that here. It's funny because when I look back on the 1911 kind of journey, I guess you could call it, my first 1911 was a 70 series Colt. I got it for $500, and I'm kicking myself for ever selling that thing. I don't know what went through my head, but anyway, it was a great little pistol. One of my instructors at the police academy, who remained a mentor and friend after I left the academy, and I actually worked with him at the site, sold that 1911 to me because I had numerous conversations with him about 1911s. He was a gun sight instructor, and therefore he was deep in the 1911 world. He and Herschel Davis both were instructors at the police academy I went to. And both of those guys, I would have just pick their brain. Anytime I was at the site and they were there teaching, I would have conversations with them and I would discuss 1911s. And I was just so fascinated with that pistol and that design and how easy it was to shoot, how easy it was to hit whatever I could see. I could actually get on the sights, get on the trigger and make the hit. And the first time that I made a hit on a plate rack, back to 50 yards, and I ran all 6 plates. Just, you know, I have no idea what the time was. Again, we're talking 20 plus years ago, but just being able to just drive that pistol and just set that thing in there and just that cadence of just cling, 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 cling. I fell in love. Man, that was it. And I remember talking to those guys, and one of my former instructor said, listen, if you're going to carry this thing, this is the one I want you to carry. It's had a reliability job done, which I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. It's had a few things. The feed ramp's been polished, reliability, so it, you know, feeds modern ammo a little better. All these things, and it had some good magazines. I can't remember, man, I want to say Trip, but don't hold me to that. But anyway, he set me up with this pistol. It had 6 magazines, a pistol, a leather, I believe a Galco behind the hip holster in the waistband, and away I went, man. And I shot that thing and carried that thing for quite some time and loved it. And for whatever reason, I still to this day want to punch myself in the eye for ever selling that pistol. Back when I was carrying 1911s and doing this kind of stuff, if you carried a 1911, you were going to get killed in the streets. It was a mistake. Endless negative comments. I would go to classes and guys would say stupid stuff. It's funny, because now those same people who would say to me, you should be carrying a Glock, what's wrong with you? Why would you carry a pistol that outdated? All these things. They're now walking around with staccatos. Hey, listen, I know for sure Staccato has worked out all the bugs on the 2011, and a lot of guys have. I know guys that I have shot a 2011 well into the 5 digits area of round count. Not quite 100,000, but pretty darn close to 100,000 rounds through a 2011 without issues. The issues that typically come up are the same issues that come up with every auto loader, which is the magazine. The magazines would start to fail, need to be cleaned, or the spring needs to be replaced, or a follower or something, and right back to running like a sewing machine. So yeah, man, I'm having some fun there because it's just kind of funny to see the same people that told me that this would get me killed in the streets are now carrying a version of this, just a wide body, in a 9mm and acting like that's God's gun. Funny stuff. So let's look at this. Back then I had, when I went to really start carrying these things, appendix in the waistband and trying to figure out how to make that work, very difficult to find holsters. So I'll talk about that just for a second, then I'll get right into the 1911 that I carried on a daily basis for years and years. Now, it was very difficult to find holsters. Raven Concealment, who made the appendix carry rig, the ACR, for you guys that are way back, you'll remember that was pretty much it. Maybe there was some JM custom stuff out there. There was a couple others, but for the most part, there weren't a whole lot of options for appendix, and definitely not for 1911s. So what I did was I petitioned Spencer Keepers to build me a appendix in the waistband. Nobody else was interested. I reached out to people, no interest whatsoever. I was given ideas to modify the Galco or the Milt Sparks, the summer special. There were ways to modify those to carry an appendix in the waistband, but no definitive, like, built for appendix in the waistband 1911 holsters that I was aware of or could find. So I reached out to Spencer Keepers, and this is the very first 1911 keeper that was ever made. He built this for me, and this thing, I have worn this thing all over the country, all weather, all dress, under dress clothes, suits, tie, you name it. I've worn it. It still has excellent fit. It actually has good retention. But yeah, everything, this pistol was, or this holster rather, was very well designed and has served its purpose. It's starting, you can see there's some wear. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's some stress at some areas where it's starting to wear a little bit, but that was my holster. And again, you have to remember the time. There weren't a lot of options out there. And so when Spencer's like, yeah, man, I'll make one for you, I jumped on it. I could not wait. So he made it. It arrived in the mail a short time later, and I was like, man, this is the jam. So that's the holster. That's what I carried it in for a very long time. Now, we have things like this that are made by Tom Kelly. This is a Dark Star gear. Forgive me, I removed the attachment because I'm playing around with a different attachment on here. I just haven't put it on yet. But this actually will accommodate a 2011 and a 1911. So that's pretty nifty. So yeah, so between those two holsters, that's what I'm carrying this in. But now, to the pistol itself, what did I prefer to carry? Now, this pistol is unloaded. You can see the orange in there. It's got dummy rounds in it, dummy rounds in the mag. So this is a TRP Operator Pro from Springfield Armory. I think this pistol cost me, I want to say this was like $1,500, maybe a little less. I'm not too sure on that. It's been a very long time. I got this pistol in the early 2000s when they first came out, and I carried it often. I've competed with it. I have used it for classes. I've used it to teach classes. There's nobody else in the house with me, nobody behind the camera, so I'm not flagging anybody or endangering anyone. And again, it is completely empty except for dummy rounds. This is the Operator Pro. Let's get into it. So what have I changed on this pistol? Nothing on the internals. This is the stock trigger, as you can see, the 3-hole kind of curved trigger. I do like the straight triggers. the flat face triggers. I have one on a 2011 that I've raced with. I really like that. It's less room or less distance for my finger to travel. However, for this pistol, it was a carry gun and a duty gun. Having that extra room for a finger with a glove to get in there before contacting the trigger, which is important, especially if you're in a situation where it goes from shoot to don't shoot really quickly sometimes. It's dynamic and ever evolving. Having the ability to get on that trigger and then get off of it, and having that wiggle room between the hammer drops, and yeah, it's important. It really is. If you've ever been in that situation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I left it as is. I didn't want to mess with it. All the internals are the same. What I did change was I changed the front sight. So I got a Dawson fiber optic. I believe that is a .90 thin front sight. It's very thin. Excuse me for pointing this in your direction. I know it's a camera, but I still don't feel 100% comfortable. But you can see it's very narrow and very bright. It's from Dawson Precision. The rear sight is a Harrison fixed sight, and it fits into the Bowmar cut. Now, this gun came with Trijicon night sights, adjustable rear, and obviously fixed front. It was staked. The front sight was staked. And I'm not saying that they weren't great sights. They serve their purpose. I took them through several schools, several shooting packages, and they did their job. But my eyes, I don't, it's hard for me to see the sights around the vials. Does that make sense? It's hard for me to see the distinct 90-degree angles if I'm running iron sights around those vials. I need a plain rear and a fiber front or a plain front. Then I can very clearly see those 90-degree angles, and I can line them up, you know, and make a good shot and do good work. Now, obviously a dot would be best, but for that time and that place, and especially on this size slide, that thin slide, there weren't options for dots back then, not really. So, especially not for a duty gun. So the Harrison rear, Dawson front, primo. Via con Dios grips, as you can see, those are very robust and sturdy. I also really appreciate the guy that makes these. He is a prosecutor who specializes in protecting children from predators, and anything I can do to support someone who's doing God's work like that, I will all day long, every day, and twice on Sunday, buy grips from them. So I use the Via con Dios sights, or Via con Dios grips. These things are textured perfectly. They grip my hand very well. This is 20 LPI, I believe, checkering on the front and back of this pistol. And combined with these grips, it just really, I can really connect to the pistol, and I can really take out all the space between my hand and the pistol and really get on it. It has ambidextrous safeties, so the safety on the left, right, and on the right side of the gun, so you can actuate the safety with either hand. And then of course the grip safety. I do not pin my grip safeties. Not that there aren't good reasons to do that, and I have friends that can articulate really well why they pin that or disable it, get rid of it. But for me, that is not something I like to do. I like to have all those measures in place. I always thought of it kind of like a triple retention holster, or any kind of retention holster where guys would disable some of the retention aspects, feeling that gave them an edge, feeling it gave them a little more speed. And I just remember one of my early instructors, that's my cat sneezing. I just remember one of my early instructors at the police academy, and then one of my mentors when I got to the police department, really just beat into my head that this is a mechanical object. This is a mechanical device. Your holster is a mechanical device. Whatever it is, you overcome it by training. Whatever the limitations are, you can overcome through hard work, effort, and intelligent training. And I just took that to heart, man. And I never disabled anything. Not that the guys who do disable are in some way not working as hard as I do or did. But it's just, I wanted every piece of safety in place, and I would just figure out how to get around it. I'd figure out how to work through it. And that's what I did. With this pistol, the only thing that I have ever had a problem with for everyday carry is this little edge right here. So I don't know if you can see that if I get out of the way, but that right there, there's a little edge right there that, man, that's a nice sounding safety, right? Very positive. That little edge right there can, on occasion, dig into your thumb. Now, I ride the safety. That's how I was trained to shoot 1911s by Herschel and John Bowman and Tom Kilhofer, who's primarily known as a revolver shooter, but man, can he run a 1911. And those guys were big on thumb goes on top of the safety, and when you actuate the safety, you stay on it and keep that thing mashed to the on position or to the go position. That way on recoil, or if something happens and your hand bumps up, you don't hit the safety with your hand by having your thumb back here. Your thumb stays right there and stays on it. Also, it's kind of a little extra leverage there to hold the pistol down as you're getting faster and you're shooting harder. So, yeah, I like these things, man. They are great. I feed them Chip McCormick Power Mags. I use the 8-rounders. I know there's 10-rounders, all that good stuff, but I have had a lot of success with the 8-rounders. I've never had an issue. I feel like you just train around it. Again, train around it. It's not a big deal, and you just figure it out. The Chip McCormick and the Wilson 47Ds are the two mags that I've run and have never had issues with in any of my 1911s. Again, I think I mentioned at the beginning the Trip, man, what is that? Trip Industries, maybe? Don't hold me on that one. But those three manufacturers of 1911 magazines have been 100% reliable for me. And most recently, probably the last 15 years, I've run almost exclusively the McCormick Power Mags and the Wilson 47Ds and had no issues whatsoever. Those things, they just run. That's about it, man. Get yourself a 1911, have some fun with it. I'm telling you right now, it is like a, what could I compare it to? It's kind of like getting a muscle car. There's something cool about taking that thing out for a spin. There's something nostalgic. There's something that connects you to something bigger. I know it's weird. I know we're talking about a piece of metal. Whether it's a car or an old pickup truck or tractor or whatever, but there's just something cool about running something that has a history and legacy that these pistols have. And the ease. My wife had shot a pistol a couple times. The first time I took her shooting, I let her shoot a 1911. She chose to shoot a 1911, and within just a few minutes, she was just running plate racks. She was hitting the C-zone steel at like 50 yards, just all kinds of cool stuff because it's so easy to run these pistols. The other thing is that the way these triggers work is it's a straight back press. There's no leverage. There's no pendulum or whatever you want to call it. There's no swing there. You press it straight back. And so all the pressure goes straight back into the pistol. There's no left, right, down, any of that stuff. So right away, people can shoot really well with these pistols. And that also is an incentive to continue shooting, because when you experience some success immediately, it incentivizes you to keep going because, hey, this isn't so hard after all. It's challenging, but with a few cheat codes or cues, I can start making some pretty good hits and doing some pretty cool stuff. And that fires people up. That makes people want to do it. So anytime I take a new shooter out, I will take a 1911 in the bag with me. I'll let them shoot the Glocks, the M&Ps, all that other stuff. But at some point, I will bring this out once they are comfortable in the 1911, and I will let them put a few mags through the 1911, and inevitably, they want to know, how do I get one of these? Pretty cool. So yeah, guys, that is my number one favorite 1911. I've carried the most. I have professionally on the job carried, and off duty on my own time and competed with. I really dig this pistol. Next time I'll talk to you guys about my favorite 92 and how long it's been with me, and yeah, we'll visit with that one too, man. I think you guys will appreciate it. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. We're heading into the 4th of July. Listen, man, be careful, party smart, and wake up on the 5th with all your fingers and toes. All right, man, have a good one.